In the mid-13th century, Arab traders came in search of the famous Spice Islands. What they found eventually became Indonesia. In the 19th century, engineers from the dead flat country of Holland, Indonesia's colonial master, built spectacular railways over the rugged terrain of the archipelago. In 1973, a group of Australian rail fans came to this nation of over 13,000 islands to discover a working museum of steam locomotives. Among the volcanic peaks and rice fields of West Java, the powerful Malays once served the local villages. Their two sets of driving wheels and high and low pressure cylinders gave them plenty of power. Their front driving wheels were carried on a large swivel frame, enabling them to take sharp curves. Having many wheels meant a light load on branch lines. Today we start early. We have a lot of ground to cover. At Cikajang, there's plenty of manpower available to turn the engine. This locomotive, one of the DD-52 class, built in 1923, is the largest of the Malays and the largest of all Indonesian steam locomotives. The locomotive depot at Cibatu, where 3 lines converge, was the only depot in the world with 100% Malay allocation. We leave Cibatu en route to Cikajang across the mountainous backbone of the world's most volcanically active island. A brakeman on each carriage makes up for what the train lacks: pneumatic brakes. Partway through the journey, a second locomotive is added to tackle the steep 1 in 25 gradients ahead. Cikajang is the end of the line. In June 1974, all lines out of Jabatu were closed and the marvellous Malays were retired. All the local goods and passenger traffic was lost to the roads. On a modern diesel-hauled train, we head east on the main line to Surabaya. The driver gladly accepts a tip for allowing passengers to ride up front. At Ambarawa, it's back to vintage steam. A locomotive built in 1902 hauls us on Java's only rack railway, although no longer used for regular traffic. This line often runs tourist trains to Badono. The locomotive has 4 cylinders, 2 high pressure and 2 low pressure. On the 3.5 mile rack section, the low pressure cylinders are used. Surabaya, the second largest city in Indonesia, has many architectural reminders of Indonesia's Dutch colonial past. To the railway enthusiast, Surabaya was synonymous with one thing: the steam tram. Opened in 1899, this anachronism finally closed in 1974, having outlasted the city's electric trams by 16 years. This locomotive, built in 1905, was still hauling local trains on the outskirts of Surabaya in 1973. This F10 class has 12 driving wheels and was built in 1914. Off the coast near Surabaya is the island of Madura, one of only 3 islands of Indonesia with railways. This former Portuguese colony had its own unique collection of locomotives and rolling stock. The D-52 Class 282s, built in 1951, are the most modern and most numerous of Indonesian steam locomotives. 100 were built in all. From Surabaya, we head west on the main line to Jakarta. Steam locomotives were still in operation around Jakarta well into the 70s. And so were some vintage electric locos built in the 1920s and 30s. Padang is the capital of West Sumatra, the land of the Minangkabau people. Sumatra has 3 separate 3-foot-6 gauge railway systems. In the West Sumatra region, several lines converge on Padang, a coal export port. The locomotives here are coal-fired, while the ones in Java are oil-fired. We leave Padang and head for the hills and Bukittinggi. For the first 45 kilometers, the rice fields and coconut palms give little hint of what is to come. Then the climb begins on the rack section. An E10 class takes over. On the rack section, the locomotive is always placed at the downhill end of the train as a safeguard against runaway carriages. Partway through the journey, our special carriage was moved to the rear of the train because the rail fans wanted to be near the engine, while others wanted an unobstructed view ahead. You can't please everyone. Most of the rack locomotives were built in Germany between 1920 and 1964. Another batch was built in Japan in 1966, but didn't go into service until 1971. In 1973, there was plenty of coal traffic to keep them busy, but not long after their delivery, their builders went out of business, which meant spare parts could not be obtained, so some of the locomotives had to be cannibalized to keep the others going. The Minangkabaus, like 80% of their fellow Indonesians, are Muslim, although Islam has not completely overridden their pre-Islam animist beliefs, such as buffalo worship. The roofs of their dwellings are shaped to represent buffalo horns. A bride and her party are on their way to the mosque for her wedding. In this matrilineal society, the husband takes his wife's surname when he marries and goes to live with his in-laws. The North Sumatra Railway has a 544-kilometre network of lines radiating from Medan, Indonesia's fifth largest city. The semi-roundhouse at Tebing Tinggi has 8 engines on the roster. This marks the end of our Indonesian railway odyssey, a journey through a lost world of steam, which was only appreciated not long before the steam locomotives dropped their fires for the last time. It's the 17th of August, 1973, Indonesian Independence Day. Our group was stranded in Medan because there were no flights out of the country, so all we could do was enjoy the Independence Day parade.